Weather calming down on both coasts as storms depart the east and the west coast. But the west coast storm is heading into the Rockies in a bit of a more weakened state. But still, we have winter storm warnings up for parts of the Rockies, advisories around the lakes, cold weather in the southeast. All of that, we'll talk about the weekend and the long range tonight on Where Else? The Joe and Joe Weather Show. And of course, as you know, Mr. Rayo got his snowblower out, and you could get a snowblower now probably cheaper if you go to Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, in southwest Suffolk County on Long Island. They're making the transition over from winter to spring. So they've got topsoil, they've got sand, they've got mulch. Make your house look terrific on the outside. 631-756-1125 is the phone number. You can't find better prices anywhere. The website is
OmniTrueValue.com. Joe, back to
yes,
you.
back to me. Where am I anyway? Where's my audio, my video box?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm nowhere to be found. Is that it? No, that's Alice. Um Oh well, so you know what? We'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. Just a second. We'll do it go this way. There we go. So we'll use it. We'll do it this way, and hopefully everything will hold up tonight. So here we are, the day after. What was your final total? Was it 10?
No, it was 11.9.
Wow. What's your season total so far?
Generally on the order of about 18 inches. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had 6 a couple of weeks ago. We had 1 in December. We've had some snow showers and flurries here and there from time to time and place to place, but we're still under 20 inches, which is still rather amazing. I've been up here, in some years where we've had like 80, 90 inches of snow. It's there it is. A lot of people were saying to me, Joe, that south of where I was or am, they had hardly anything. And to the north, of course, some folks were working on 20 inches or close to 2 feet of snow. It's amazing.
Yeah, on Long Island last night, a number of people pointed out to me, including Bill Huber. I don't know if he's on the chat board, but basically he had not, moderate snow and even occasionally heavy snow for about 8 or 9 hours in a row. But it was during the day, and that where he was in Central Suffolk County barely left a coating. There were a few places on the North Shore that picked up a coating to maybe an inch, mostly in Nassau County. In Suffolk, I'm just looking here. Central Maritch has got 2.2, 2.1 in Wisconsin, Lake Grove 2, Islip MacArthur Airport 1.2, but only 4/10 of an inch in Center Reach, which is only 2 miles away since I used to live there, and a trace in Bayshore. And I'm looking here in Westchester, Joe, north. I'm sorry, 1 mile north of Castle. You know where Castle is in West?
Could be
Or
Newcastle
okay, or North Castle.
or North Castle.
North
Yeah.
Castle 7.1, Peekskill 7, but 3 miles east southeast of Peekskill. No, 6.3. Shrub Oak 4, Summers 4, Armonk 3.5, Ossining 1.5, South Salem 1.3. So I mean, it almost sounds like certainly south of 287, you got next to nothing. And 15.5 in Orange County, Joe, 1 mile west northwest of Monroe. 8.5 in Port Jervis. 2.2 in Walden. Because you always say how Orange County should really be split in half,
Right.
forecast wise. Only a trace at New York City Central Park. I don't have any other observations from the airport, so I'm assuming. Oh, Kennedy Point one, Kennedy Point one, LaGuardia Point one. God. Passaic County, Verona 2.5. Some of these, by the way, are not full obs because I'm just noticing the timestamps were from 9 p.m. last night, so it's possible they might have gotten a little bit more. It was close to it, I guess. And in Bergen County, trace in Oakland, 3 inches in Upper Saddle River. In Connecticut, Oxford, which is in northern New Haven County, got 7. But Waterbury, which is not that far away. Oh no, that ob is from yesterday in the morning, so that doesn't count. So again,
Well,
you always got to check these timestamps.
I like what David Schwartz says. He says, I think LaGuardia must have cleaned out all their ice bucket shavings to get that 0.1 inch of snow. We got zip in Astoria. So, David, next time, call me on the phone. I'll give you. I would have given you all the snow you wanted.
Oh, that's just
Um,
too funny.
and the upside of the fact that we're now into middle March, and today, by the way, Joe, March 15th, the Buzzards returned to Hinckley, Ohio. It
Yes,
was Buzzards Day
in
on the
Hinckley.
sides of March. Yeah. But the nice thing about having snow at this time of the year is that sun angle is so very high. And now, like last night, my daughter and I were uh, trying to shave off some of the snow that it's interesting, tiny little flakes, but every single one stuck last evening, and
Right.
that actually amounted. I mean, it didn't stop snowing until around 10 or 11 o'clock last night. That tiny little bit still amounted to about 1.1 inches of snow on top of the amount that I quoted to you yesterday or last evening. But the nice thing is that even though we scraped and we left maybe a quarter of an inch on the driveway and other areas, today with that sun angle so high and we had lots and lots of sunshine, Mother Nature did the rest and pretty much took care of all of the remaining snow. I mean,
Yeah.
not the snow piles, but the residual effects of that.
Oh,
So
it goes away. It does go this time of year. It goes away quick. You
absolutely,
know, when you get into late March and early April, if you get a nighttime snowfall, you could actually just watch it melt.
yes.
I mean, literally, it'd be gone by noon. I remember one time on Long Island, I forgot what year it was, but we had an overnight snowfall, and it was something like on April 3rd or 4th, and it was a good 4 or 5 inches. And by the time it was just about all gone by the time we got to noon, 1 o'clock. If you'd have just left it there, it wouldn't have mattered. You could literally have watched it uh, just melt away. Robert Russo's the first super chat hit tonight, Mr. Rayo. Thank you, Robert Russo. Cup of coffee for us, most appreciated. Welcome to everybody tonight on the chat board to the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Welcome to those of you who are lurking about in the background. We know you're there. You can certainly join the chat board and be part of the conversation. If you like the Joe and Joe Weather Show, hit the like button because we like to get to 100 likes and we're already at 43. Subscribe with your Gmail account and you can get notifications every time the Joe and Joe Weather Show is on, which is Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p. I'm sorry, Monday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. Sundays at 11 a.m. And we will be on. I had a schedule change today. But we will be on this Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. But we are going to, Joe, we're going to take off the next 3 days. I'm
Oh, really?
sure you're happy about that.
Really?
Yes, shall we?
Uh, and may I ask why?
Because
Well,
we
I know Friday and Saturday. I know, but tomorrow, what's
Oh,
going
I've
on
got
tomorrow?
nothing going on tomorrow. It's just that after dealing with this weather system for the last number of days, I'm kind of brain fried, and I think that with the weather relatively calm and no other storm on the horizon, and why not take tomorrow off? So we'll taking
Sure.
tomorrow off.
Why not? Why not?
Okay.
And of course, Sunday's also St. Joseph's Day, so that's a special day
Yes,
for
for
both of
for
us.
us Joes. Yes, I just realized the reason why my video source was out because I have one of those, and you have one of these too, Joe. You have one of those theoretical wireless printers that theoretically works wirelessly, uh, but it seldom does. So I had to hook it up to my computer so that I could print up my tax return because I can electronically file my Georgia tax return, but I got to pay $25 to do it, and I'm not paying $25 to file my Georgia tax return, so I print it up and I mail it.
Right. Like so many of us did back in the day.
Yes, and used to write everything in pen. What's a
Yes.
pen these days?
Right.
You seldom
Right.
use one.
Somebody
Okay.
was on the chat. So Chuck, was it Chuck Cardillo? Joe and Joe remember the Easter snowstorm back in the late 60s, early 70s. You are, Chuck, referring to March 29th, 1970. I remember it well. Central Park got 4 inches. I lived in Throgs Neck in the Bronx, and we must have had almost double that. And up across the Hudson Valley, there was amounts of 11, 12, 13 inches of snow on that Easter Sunday. Snowiest Easter Sunday on record, by the way. This is a day, this was actually snow that fell on Easter Sunday. There was one back in the early 20th century, I think something like 1915, where Easter morning there was 15 inches of snow on the ground, but that did not happen or did not fall on Easter. Now, the one way you can get a snowstorm on Easter Sunday is to, because it's a movable feast based upon the motions of the moon, is to get an Easter that happens in March. But Joe, our Easter this year is April the 9th. Will make it 7 consecutive Aprils that we have had Easter in April. Next year, for the first time in 7 years, in 2024, we will actually have an early Easter Sunday, March 30th or 31st, I believe, next year. So maybe next year we will have, although, you know what? Who knows? This has been such a crazy winter, and I'm sure it'll be a crazy start of spring. Who knows? We might just have a white Easter this year, a snowstorm on Easter Sunday, even though Easter comes this year on April the 9th. Like I said, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Who knows? And I was just kind of looking at things. And I didn't look at things too deeply today in the long range. I did notice the patterns kind of blocky, which is typical when you get into this time of year anyway, but probably a little more so um, than normal. And I can sort of look at things and say, all right, maybe if this moves here and that moves there, you get a little of this and a little bit of that. Something might happen down the road, but there's nothing really too definitive regarding anything in the long range. Something's going to come out of the Gulf next week, which what the models were, some of them were trying to bring it up the coast. And now, because of the block, it only gets about halfway and then drops east and then goes southeast. Uh, so that's sort of in flux. Uh, on the whole, there's nothing really out. There's nothing out there that I can point to right now and say, okay, here comes the next one. So that's good. At least we're gonna have some quiet time. And certainly through the weekend and into early next week. Doesn't appear like we have much to worry about, other than some showers later Friday into early Saturday morning.
Even as you just mentioned, showers on Saturday. But the fact is that after what we went through yesterday, and yesterday I had 12 consecutive hours of temperatures sitting on 33 at times with periods of moderate to heavy snow. So today felt great, and tomorrow and on into Friday, feeling great too, with temperatures reaching 2 or above 50. And yes, even with the threat of showers on Saturday, maybe early in the day, I'm still going to enjoy those temperatures in the 50s. So some nice spring weather
Yeah,
coming.
might even get South Jersey in particular, southern Pennsylvania and points south might get above 60, I think. And of course, we had another. Actually, it wasn't too bad this afternoon. We bottomed this morning here. I thought we'd get a little lower, but we actually bottomed at 23 and got up into the low 50s today, which beat yesterday, where the high yesterday was 41. But we've got another cold night ahead tonight with temperatures in the 20s, and folks here in the southeast to have overall a rather cold-looking weather pattern going forward through the weekend and into next week, because it's got a nice cold high that's going to be coming in. And some of that colder air is going to get into the northeast and mid-Atlantic states Sunday into Monday. But uh, looks like it'll come with just cold air and not come with any complications. So that's a plus.
One local forecaster here last night was already ballyhooing the possibility of another potential big storm for next Tuesday. And then tonight, he kind of sheepishly backed off, saying, well, now it looks like everything's going to be suppressed to the south. So
Right,
we'll keep an eye
until
on that.
tomorrow, when he has to back off the other way and back in the other direction and say,
Yeah.
see, this is the thing. This is the thing that's always bothered me. I've rarely had to do that. So where taking literal interpretations of what models do from run to run and say, okay, it's there, it's not there, it's there, it's not there. No, no. And by the way, because now that I'm thinking of this, um, this is where lack of model devotion, okay, as opposed to forecast experience devotion, becomes, goes front and center. And this was a perfect case where there was so much model devotion in terms of what to do with amounts when the things that were going on in front of a lot of folks were missed. I mean, you and I talked about that upper low and
Right.
and the dangers. And by the way, a lot of what fell yesterday was classic with upper lows. You get the banding and the rotation that you see on the satellite and radar, the counterclockwise rotation. I'm sure they were all talking about that on Monday, that was going to happen. I'm sure
You
of it.
sure?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
yeah, absolutely, totally sure. Yeah, of course. Anyhow, on that note, and by the way, I sort of halfway did a postmortem on the forecast. Uh, the early my it turns out with your 10 inches, my final call was better than my early call.
Well, isn't that the way it's supposed to play out? I
No,
mean, your
because
final
the
call be
because on the other events, the early call was the final call. I didn't change anything.
right, right.
So
But you know, you
in this case, I upped amounts. Just
right.
kind of slid everything up a little bit
But
further north,
but
but
that's
it
what an
worked out
up
well.
that's what an update is for, Joe, because you took
Right.
the amounts and you upped them.
Yes, I did, didn't I?
Yes.
All right. All right. So let's take you around the nation and see what's going on. The folks in the West, guess what? I've got the watches and warnings map just loading as we speak. And I think for the first time in the better part of almost 3 weeks, there are no winter storm warnings or winter storm watches or winter storms anything in California.
In California, that's right.
I mean,
Boy,
really,
that
it,
looks like a
it,
strange map.
it does. Uh, really, it had to be. It was certainly at least 2 weeks, if not maybe close to 3 weeks. There was almost continuous winter storm warnings out in California, somewhere in California, and actually in a lot of the state. Uh, Including the southern part of the state. But nope, it's all clean on the West Coast. The storm that came in yesterday and last night has now moved to the other side on the Rockies in a slightly weakened state. So we have winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories up in Montana, warnings in western Wyoming, warnings in western Colorado, scattered around a few counties here and there, also through central Utah. Still got some flood watches, though, in southern Nevada and in northwest Arizona. Winter storm warnings in northeastern Nebraska and also in northeastern Minnesota, northwestern Wisconsin, with various winter weather advisories. Winter storm watches, Joe, up for the upper peninsula of Michigan. And we've got freeze warnings up tonight again for Georgia, South Carolina, and most of North Carolina and eastern Tennessee, northeastern Alabama. Got another cold night tonight here in the mountains of northeast Georgia, with the temperatures expected to drop down into the 20s. But northeast and mid-Atlantic states, other than trying to get this wind to drop off, it's okay.
It is okay. And the thing is that I still can't understand. Well, I mean, like I just said a few moments ago, it looks weird that we don't have anything going on in the Pacific. I mean, nothing, zilch. And the other thing that seems kind of weird to me is the fact that tonight, Joe, I was walking around outside and it was like 6:45 and it was like so bright outside. I mean, people they say I'm thrown off when we go back to standard time because it gets so dark so suddenly. And I don't know. I don't wonder how many people are thrown off because of the fact that it looks so bright. I mean, I know, some might even say, "Really? It's
I'm
six
I'm
forty-five already?
I'm
It's 6:45 already?"
I'm one of those people
Yeah.
because here being close to the central time zone border, so I have late sunsets, sunrises, and late sunsets as it is. So now I'm back to stay. Now that they move the clock an hour ahead, I've got sunrises that are closer to 7:30, 7:30, as opposed to 6:30. So now it's dark, well past 7 o'clock, at least for a while. But on the other hand, it's just now kind of starting. It's getting darker now. It's still not quite, nighttime dark, but it's on its way.
Right.
Just took a
Right.
quick peek out the window of the looking out over the deck. Um, on the satellite loop, and that's a nice looking storm there. This thing moved out a little slower than advertised. I thought it would, move out a little. Certainly the way the models were moving it out, just seems to be, excuse me, just seems to be taking its time. But look how well defined that low center is.
It is. Look at that.
It's a beauty.
Did it get an eye? It looks like there's like a little tiny eye there.
There might be a little, little ring. There it looks like a ring of showers at least around the center. That's why I like this time. You start to get this time of year, you can get some really gorgeous satellites of these storms as they can get pretty wrapped up. Particularly the ones that are out in the ocean. When I say wrapped up, I mean they can intensify to very strong levels. And meanwhile, you can see the moisture in the west, a little more disorganized today, but most of it is not in California for a change, and not along the west coast, but more on the other side of the mountains there, and starting to spread that moisture up into the northern plains. Beautiful clear skies from southern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, right on down to most of Florida, except the extreme south part of the state. And on the radar, we're looking at there's your snow across northern Wisconsin, northern Minnesota, across North Dakota into northeastern Montana. You see the rains coming out of southern California as that disturbance moves eastward, and got some downpours and showers into Arizona. Also some precip up into New Mexico and in West Texas. Some leftover snows. Looks like on either side of Maine here. On the west side and on the east side.
It's kind of weird. They're flanked. The state is flanked by snow, but
Yeah,
most of the state has nothing.
Yeah, it is weird. Otherwise, the radars are quiet up and down the eastern seaboard. WPC, Weather Prediction Center. Maps are refreshing as we speak for the next 7 days. Not a whole lot rain-wise in the northeast anyway. Looks like mostly at most a tenth to a quarter, and if you're lucky enough to live in Massachusetts and northern Connecticut, you've got no precip being indicated by WPC over the next 7 days. Some heavy rains along the Carolina coasts, down into North Florida, also into an inch and a half plus for much of Georgia, and a small cluster of an inch and a half plus looking around Louisiana and eastern Texas. The dry, quiet weather won't last because WPC has got several to many inches of precip, and probably more of this is going to be snow than rain in the Sierra Nevadas. And up and down the coast, we're seeing anywhere from an inch to as much as 2 to 3 inches as you head up on north around the Great Lakes. Also seeing precip amounts of, say, 3/4 of an inch to as much as an inch and a half of liquid. Snow-wise, here is the probability. This is the latest map, which was just updated, Joe. Very fresh. And WPC's snowfall probability for at least 2 in those areas that we have the winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings up from northeastern Nebraska on up into Wisconsin, Minnesota, northeastern Minnesota, and the upper peninsula of Michigan. If we take it to the probability for at least 8, this is for the next 72 hours. So this takes us to Saturday evening. A fairly high probability of 8 there. Up in northern Wisconsin. One of these years, I'm going to get, along with going to the see some lake effect in western New York, I want to go up to northern Michigan during January, just for laughs.
Sault Ste. Marie?
Yeah, Sault Ste. Marie, or maybe Marquette.
Marquette.
Western Colorado. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, that is an area that seems to be perpetually snow covered all through the winters and most winters. I don't know how they did. Well, I think they did fairly well by themselves this year, but we always talk about places out west or in the Rockies or whatever. There's one place you can almost guarantee east of the Mississippi that they're going to have snow on the ground on Christmas morning and maybe even on Thanksgiving. It's northern Michigan or the UP, if you will, of Michigan.
Yes.
And the
And
weird thing about the weird thing also about the UP, Joe, I think it's Ensenada, Michigan, on the UP, that is so far west, and yet they are on Eastern time. I mean, I think they're even further west than Chicago, and yet they still register as an Eastern time zone city, which is really weird. And I want to tell you something: when they go on daylight saving time, as they probably are right now, um, you get those weird situations where even now sunrise doesn't come until like 7:30 or 7:45, and sunset, forget about it. When we get to June, you'll be seeing the sun won't be setting until probably something like 9:30 or almost 10 o'clock at night. That's how ridiculous that is with
oh,
the fact that they're seeing Eastern time so far west.
and speaking of west, just back to the probabilities for a few inches of snow in a good chunk of central and western Colorado, down into New Mexico. And again, look on the west coast. Again, it's been weeks since we've seen it empty with snow probabilities of at least two, actually under 20%, under 20% in the Sierra Nevadas. So a lot of that precip that you're seeing is going to come after Saturday evening, which we will of course now check on our weather models to see what's going on. I'm just going to widen the GFS just a little bit. And so this is what it's supposed to look like tonight. Low just southeast of Nova Scotia, some snow going on there, and in New Brunswick. Nothing particularly heavy though. And also, you have a new low, a 91 low in eastern Colorado with the snow on the west side. Actually, even a little bit of rain being indicated in parts of the western Colorado. It's not all especially cold out in the west at the moment, but that low comes east. We get into the snow that's going to go into the upper Midwest. We have our high that moves off the southeast coast, so we start to warm up tomorrow. Should be easily get back up above 50 in most places, and maybe middle and upper 50s to near 60 southern New Jersey and points south. And I think we'll be into the 60s on Friday. Front goes by, that low in the lakes goes into Canada. We get maybe a couple of showers. Doesn't look especially promising for any shower activity with this. There's some leftover moisture Friday night into Saturday morning just offshore into the south, into the Carolinas. But we got a nice cold high that's coming down. That high North Dakota there on Saturday. Uh, Still might be a little few leftover 50s on Saturday, but then I think Sunday's going to be a chilly day. Low to mid 40s for highs should do it with a bit of a gusty wind. And
And
then
keep
here,
in mind that locally here in the tri-state area, the normal high by Sunday afternoon high should be around 50. So if you're in the low 40s, you're already down by 7 or 8 degrees from normal. And as Joe was just mentioning, add or factor in the wind, and it'll feel probably more like the 30s. So, and after going through this little preview of spring now through Saturday, that's going to be hard to take, I think, on Sunday.
oh yeah, on Sunday some precip. Oh my, well, why should my battery be low? I'm plugged in.
Are you getting a signal or something?
No, no, no. No, I had when I had to plug in my printer, I had to unplug my computer, so I was running on battery. So apparently I didn't, plug it back in enough. Now I'm okay. It was just warning me. Anyhow, here comes more rain for the west on early Sunday as the next system moves in. Looks like a lead piece of moisture and energy comes in, then a stronger low comes in for Monday with some rain and heavy snow. Meanwhile, here comes a low out of the Gulf of Mexico. It starts to ride up the eastern seaboard. It's actually a fairly wrapped up surface low here. When we get into Wednesday and there's a high to the north, and of course, you're looking at this maybe and saying, well, like this could be exciting. But no, the low only gets so far north, starts to move east, and then actually drops southeast. And A few of the other global models do the same. I think the reason why it doesn't lift up, Joe, is that you've got while that's going on, there's even more energy coming into California. So, and this one that's coming in for say later Tuesday night into early Wednesday looks more impressive, and that probably the upper air probably sets up where the system in the east can't lift up to the east coast because of troughing out in the west. And we see another low that goes to the lakes, followed by another cold front. And oh, look at this. Look at this on the 25th or so. There it is. There's another low coming out of Texas, heading up into Pennsylvania, redeveloping off the New Jersey coast. Let's put the watch and warning up now.
Oh, there you go. There you go. And
But
if it can happen on the 25th of March, why can't it happen on Easter Sunday 2 weeks later?
well, and why not? But look, in all seriousness, we all know that far out. Obviously, there's going to be here on one run, gone on the next. But I would just leave it with the idea of the fact that we do have a somewhat blocky look in the upper air pattern. I'm just rolling it backwards. Higher than normal pressures up in the North Atlantic and around the polar regions of northern Canada. Lower than normal pressures in the mid latitudes. So it's one of these things, folks, where if timing comes together, yeah, maybe something could happen. This is not a warm-looking pattern, though. I mean, thinking about the fact that we are in March, it's not a warm-looking pattern going forward. Maybe you get these odd days, a day here, a day there, as in between cold fronts that you warm up and go up through the 50s and up into the low 60s. But you're definitely not going to see warm temperatures if you get deep troughs like this into the eastern part of the United States. And that's on the forecast to be on the last day of the month of March. Couldn't get it in January in winter. Couldn't get it in February, but you're getting it on the last days of March and into the first days of April.
Right. And it's a teaser. By that time, it might be just mild enough for a cold rain or a chilly rain as opposed to a snow or
Yeah.
those who are wishing for that kind of stuff.
Well, this time of year, we're at the 15th, and I've always, I've kind of lived by the rule. After the 15th, it's got to be a perfect, it's got to be an almost near perfect setup for something to happen. Um, so that's kind of where we're at now. Uh, what was it, 2018 with the four nor'easters, the fourth nor'easter, which I remember, I think it was March 24th or March 25th that Long Island got 20-inch plus snows out of it. It was the latest we've ever seen a double-digit snowfall on Long Island. Um, so impossible? No, not impossible. Um, is it likely? No, it's not likely. Is it? As each day goes by, the chances go down, 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 down.
I'm pretty much in the same ballpark. I've often used as the benchmark St. Patrick's Day, which is of course is on Friday, and then after that, then you really have to get everything just right to see significant snowfall, which we've had in some years, recent years, but it as you just said, Joe, it gets more and more difficult.
Yeah, sun gets higher in the sky, and even in those cold air, man, this time of year it's cold aloft, but it warms up fairly quickly on the ground. So you got to really push your luck here to get snow. But look, if it shows up, if it's doable, if it's if the pattern supports it, if the teleconnection support it, if the models support it, we'll try and forecast it. If it doesn't, we won't wishcast. That we won't do. So, are you ready, Mr. Rayo, for Briller Jeopardy?
It's been a while, I tell you. This is we're a weather oriented webcast here, or on YouTube, and yet it seems to me that there are some days a lot of people saying, what happened to Briller Jeopardy? Where is it? Well,
Well,
the weather's been busy. It kept us busy in the last several days, but we're back now, and we're all set to go, and we're all set to play.
Yes, exactly. We wish Scott well. He's busy taking care of Mother Briller. Hope she's watching tonight. Big hello to Mother Briller, and hope everything is coming along well. All right, so you're ready to go?
Yes,
Is the
I
chat
am all
is the
ready.
chat board ready to go? Chat board is ready to go. Yes. Okay, here we go. Mr. Rayo, tonight we will do average monthly snowfalls for the month of March in these 5 cities. This is the average monthly snowfall for the month of March. And we will start with Minneapolis. Minneapolis, ladies and gentlemen, the average snowfall for the month of March for Minneapolis, not St. Paul, Minneapolis.
How about 12 inches or 12? I'm going to go in 10, 12.3 inches. How do you like that?
12.3, he says. Well, Christopher Alley and Helen Bertona say 15. News Talk team says 18. Joe Z says 12. Northern Grace says 14. And you know what? None of them are
Did any
right.
of us? Did any of us get it right?
No. Rich Rothmansky, however, with 7 is close. And Pat BFD is at 13. Nope, nope. Not double digits, folks. It's all single digits here.
Really?
Matthew Howe, it's 10 at 10. And Tyler Fienga at 6 is too low. Johnny Quest says 8, and Johnny Quest gets it as close. We have fractions here, so you can do this. 8.2.
Wow.
8.2. Okay, New York City.
Oh, New York City. I would say 5. I'd say 5.
Ding, 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 ding.
Really?
Yes,
Oh,
it's
good thing I didn't go.
5.
Good thing I didn't go digital.
5 for New York City. James H says 5 because they're on a delay, so he too got it correctly. It used to be the prior 30-year average from 1980 to 2010 for March was only 2.5. So when they took out the 80s and put in the 2010 period, it doubled the
Yeah.
normal
Yeah.
snowfall. And the long-term average is probably about 5.2, 5.3. When I say long-term, is if you average all the way back to 1869. Philadelphia. Philadelphia.
Uh, Philadelphia. Philadelphia. I'm gonna. How about 1.9?
1.9 for Philadelphia. James Harris says 1. Tyler Fienga says 2.7. Johnny Quest said 3.2. Anthony Sparacchio 7. Chris Alley 3. Lou Orizio 3.1. Maggie P 3.2, Helen Bertona 3.1, Jacob Mack Mindfulness 3.4, Miss Fallerite 3.8, and Adam Lowe 3.8. So if you split the difference between the two, 3.6 for Philadelphia. Philadelphia 3.6.
I'm amazed that they've had that much snow in March, especially
Yeah.
in recent years.
Philadelphia's in a snow hole
Yeah.
because they're too far east when it comes to snow that comes across Pennsylvania that dries up going over the mountains, and they're too far west when it comes to deepening lows off the East Coast. So that's the unfortunate situation where you can blame your geography. Your latitude and longitude here make a difference. Richmond, Virginia. Richmond, Virginia.
Hmm.
Richmond,
Well,
Virginia.
I'll say I'm going to come back with 1.9.
1.9, says Joe Rayo. 1.2 for Tyler Fienga. 1.6 for Joe Z. 1 inch for Lou Orizio. 0.9 for Steve LaPointe. 1.8 for Northern Grace. 1.4 for Craig Carlberg. 1.1 for Pat B. Where'd he go? Where'd you go, Pat? Oh, BFD. Pat BFD 1.1, and the answer is Pat BFD 1.1, hitting it on the nose. And
Wow.
last but not least, Debbie Carroll. This is a hint. Virginia Beach, Virginia. Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Well, what did we say? 1.1 for Richmond, Virginia?
Yes. So Virginia Beach.
Well, I frankly would have thought that Richmond probably would have more than Virginia Beach only because they're further inland and more likely to be colder. But then on the other hand, we've had so many months of March where we've had these super coastal storms that have thrown a lot of snow over parts of the mid Atlantic. So that's, uh, uh, I'll say, I'll say 3.8.
Oh my God. Craig, Debbie Carroll. Oh, you got the hint. Good. Debbie Carroll, Craig Carlberg, James H., and Jacob Mac Mindfulness. And did I get everybody here? All of them said zero point 0.5, Joe. Zero point 0.5. And the answer is zero point 0.5.
So what was the hint?
Oh, she had zero point 0.5, but she had zero point 0.5 for Richmond.
Oh,
So I just said, what I said. So she figured it
okay.
out that you use the zero point 0.5 for the next one. So that wraps it up. We've got 105 likes tonight.
And we just want to thank again Robert Russo, who hit super chat near the beginning of the show, and thank you very much to Robert.
Yes. And thanks for those of you who hit the like button. Thank you to everybody on the chat board. And Joe and I are going to take tomorrow off, and we're off on Friday. Unless something really monumental appears on the models for next week, you will not see us until Sunday. Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So have a great rest of your week and a great weekend. Joe, you have a great rest of your week and a great
Same,
weekend.
and the same to you, sir.
And we'll see you on Sunday.
Have fun.
Nighty night, everybody.